I live in a slightly rural spot. One night, after about midnight, I hear banging on my door. I thought it was my boyfriend attempting a booty call, as he is apt to do. When I got to the door, I could see through the small glass window. But instead of my boyfriend, I saw the side of an unfamiliar bearded face. He didn't see me, and I backed away from the door. My house was in a cellular dead zone, so I knew my cell was useless. I grabbed the landline next to my bed to call 911, but the line was dead. It was just like a horror movie, where the killer cuts the phone line. Meanwhile, the guy was still pounding away and slurring, "Let me in." I grabbed the biggest chef knife I own, which is pretty fucking big, and locked myself in the bathroom. I stood on the edge of the tub, behind the shower curtain, figuring I might have a chance if I jumped on him from above and stabbed him between the neck and shoulder when he tried to bust down the door. I was terrified, but also pleased with my plan and waited. He started working his way around the outside of the house. I could hear him sliding his hands along the siding and banging his fist against the walls. For a split second, I reveled in my surprisingly badass plan. Then I realized the sabotaged phone hadn't been charged in days. Maybe one of the other handsets still worked? I have never felt more fear than the moment I climbed down from my hiding spot, unlocked the bathroom door, and went in search of a second handset, all while a madman was moving around the outside of my house, violently trying to unlock every door and window. I found a phone, and it worked. I dialed 911, but the closest officer was over 15 minutes away. I was told to stay on the line but lock myself in the bathroom again. That was the longest 15 minutes of my life. When police arrived, they had me identify a cuffed, scruffy drunk off his ass dirty hippie kid. Apparently there had been a party down the road. He got disoriented and thought my house was his friend's house. He was trying to get back inside the party for 20 minutes of pure terror. When I was 19, my parents and brother had gone away for the weekend and I stayed behind. I had had a pretty rough night and was very drunk. I pulled a Britney Spears move and cut off all my long hair drunkenly, thinking to reinvent myself because I was moving away for university the following week. When I finished rinsing the fresh cut hair off of my neck in the shower, I left the bathroom to find a note in the hallway that said, "I was going to leave you a note, but I see that you are here." Naturally, I was walking around my house naked as I thought I was alone. But when I opened the door to my room, there was a guy with his hair in his face standing in the middle of the room, grinning at me. I freaked out and screamed bloody murder, as one tends to do when they're a naked 19-year-old girl encountering an unexpected stranger in their empty house at 2:30 a.m., until I recognized him. It was this boy I had dated in my first year of high school 3 years previously for 2 weeks until he ran away from home. Turns out he had heard I was moving away and just wanted to talk. He didn't hurt me or threaten me in any way, other than breaking into my house in the middle of the night, handed me some clothes from my bed, and we chatted until he eventually left. I work at Quick Mart on the graveyard shifts. I'm the only one there for 8 hours. Well, I've been working here for about 5 months now, so I've gotten used to the sounds and all the weird noises. But when I first started, I was informed by a customer of an old man who used to work at this store, but he died of a stroke about 2 years back. So a couple days passed by, and I was working a swing shift when the graveyard guy comes in to do the shift change. Me and him start talking, and he asks if I have any questions for around the store. I had everything down on lock by now, but he was like, "Hey, let me show you something." Well, he pulls me in the back room and he shows me the old man's jacket. Sometimes on graveyards, you will hear weird noises, went on to saying that our manager loved him and couldn't get rid of the jacket. My coworker told me that. So a couple more days go by. Explainable stuff happens and whatnot, as in a cooler door popping open and then closing. A can on an iced tea will fall to the ground. It's all stuff with, after a good explanation, seems reasonable. Well, one night while working a grave and being on Reddit as the usual, I hear a scuffling noise coming from the other side of the store. It goes on for about 5 seconds and I'm kind of freaked out. I start thinking, what if it's this ghost trying to fuck with me? Well, I go look over there and there's a ramen packet by the sugar. It's probably a good 5 feet away from the container it's supposed to be in and is kind of angled like something was dragging it. So I got really curious. I went like CIA FBI investigator status. I started setting up my iPhone to record for 30 minutes at a time, just trying to figure out what moved it. 2 30-minute recording sessions go by and the bag is still there. Hasn't moved an inch. Well, I say fuck it and pick up my phone and get back to work. Literally like 5 minutes later, I hear the scuffling noise again and get really paranoid about the ghost. The next day, my manager comes in and asks how my night was. I kind of give her this weird look like, "Do you hear shit when you work or what's up?" Well, she says to me, "Oh, do you mean Frank?" And at this point, I'm like, ah, shit, there is a ghost. So I respond to her, "You mean the old man who died here 2 years ago?" She laughs and just says, "Oh, no, that's Bob. I mean Frank the mouse who eats all of our ramen packs." Well, in high school, a mate was bragging how his parents were away for Easter. Someone else took this as a reason to throw a party, so he did. Now his house was in a nice, but in a bad area. When word of the party spread, a bad crowd of people showed up. We had the upstairs area locked with all valuables inside, but someone stole a screwdriver and opened it up. Anyway, we went upstairs and noticed the only thing missing was his parents' wine collection. We went back downstairs, and on the way past, his dual-monitor computer had become one monitor. The other one was missing, the window next to it away. Anyway, it was downhill from there. We called the cops, but as people left, they took stuff. He had a collection of 17 guitars at the start of the night. By the end, he had 4. He lost 2 TVs, and someone even wheeled his dad's barbecue up the road. By the time the cops came, he had lost over $3,000 of his parents' stuff. I was the one who had called the police and kicked everyone out, and I was as high as a kite. Not fun dealing with the police or your parents at 1 a.m. after going through all that whilst tripping balls. But yeah, the insurance refused to pay because he had signed something while he was drunk that the police had presented. But they caught one of the guys eventually, so they did pay up.